Okay, B'Shem Hashem Natzeh v'Natzliach. We're starting again the new cycle of the Torah, the most important and holy books, Genesis, Beresheit. And we talk about the awesome idea of creation. And the last thing that God created, the most precious thing He created was man, Adam and Eve, Adam and Chava, and man is created in the image of God. And what does this mean exactly? Ki BZELEM ELEKIM nivra ha'adam, that us human beings were created in the image of the Almighty. So the Sefer ELEKIM says something so important. He says, of course, God has no body or anything similar to the body. That's nonsense. We're not Christian. We don't believe in that. So what does it mean that we're made in the image of God? God doesn't have an image. He says something so beautiful. He says, just like there's Echad Yachidu Meyuchad, God is the most unique being in the world, right? There's no other gods. There's nothing comparable to Him. He's Echad Yachidu Meyuchad. You should know you are in the image of God. You person, cherish yourself, love yourself, because there is no other like you. There is no other human being like you. Sarah, David, Shalom, Shmuel, Mr. X, Y, and Z. Doesn't matter Jewish or non-Jewish. You should cherish yourself because there was no other, there will be no other person with your unique capabilities, talent, way of thinking, and inner beauty and outer beauty. So therefore, this is a very important concept, that we're in the image of God, that we're unique like God. There is no other like us. And that shows the true greatness of the Almighty, that He creates millions and billions of people, and each one has their own unique voice, unique look, how they appear, physical appearance, inner thoughts, inner capabilities, inner talents. And the Nefesh HaChaim also says, what does it mean that we're in the image of God? Just like God has unlimited capabilities of creating miracles, destroying and creating worlds, our human mind, because of the power of our soul, has immense, immeasurable possibilities. Our potential as a human being is unbelievable. It's incomprehensible. We could create nuclear weapons. We could send people to the moon. And also in a spiritual way, we can affect the whole rain and hurricanes and all the blessing and curses of the world through the actions of our mitzvot. If we act kind and godly and follow the Torah, we bring blessing to the world. If we don't, then the whole future of the world, the whole culture of the world can be cursed or blessed. Who does that depend on? On us human beings. We determine how blessed and cursed this world that we are in exists on a spiritual, physical level. So that's godliness, because God has given the key to blessing and curse to us human beings, especially the Jews, if we act accordingly and appropriately. So that's what the Nefesh HaChaim says. It means that we're created in the image of God. And this is such an important idea, to know that we're in the image of God, that if you look in the Midrash, there's actually a dispute. We all know Rabbi Akiva believes the most important rule of the Torah is to love your neighbor as yourself. But he had a student that argues on him. Ben Azai says, no, I believe that the most important and vital rule of the Torah is what? To know that a person is created in the image of God. So the great mashkiach of my yeshiva, Ner Yisrael, Rab David Kornglass, says, how can Ben Azai was a student of Rabbi Akiva? How could he argue and say that the most important rule is to know that you're in the image of God? How could he have the audacity to argue on his rabbi? And anyways, universally, most people do accept that love your neighbor as yourself is the most cardinal and golden rule. He says, Rab David said something so mind-bogglingly important that I've been waiting a whole year to share this with you. He said that, of course, Ben Azai agrees to his master and mentor, Rabbi Akiva, to love your neighbor as yourself is the most important rule. But why should you love yourself? You have to read the Torah very sharply and carefully. It says, love your neighbor as yourself. which means you must love yourself. Ben Azai says there's a prerequisite to loving your neighbor as yourself, loving your wife as yourself, loving your child as yourself, loving your neighbor and fellow Jew as yourself. That's first, you should love yourself. Why should you love yourself? Because you are in the image of the Almighty. Like we have said, you have unlimited potential. You're extraordinarily unique. There's no other like you. So therefore, have self-respect and self-love. And this is so important in marriage, where if somebody is depressed and doesn't cherish and love themselves, they cannot love no other. So therefore, this is such a wonderful idea of the idea that we're created in the image of God means love yourself. Once you realize that you are so outstandingly unique and capable of being godly and determining the future of mankind, wow, I'm important. Now I love myself. Now I could relate and transfer that love to others. And may Hashem help us to always keep these two cardinal rules. They're really two sides of one coin. Love your neighbor as yourself. When you have self-respect, and we see this in low lives, a gang of low lives, they're always cursing and demeaning each other, right? Why? Because they have no self-respect. They don't know how honorable and noble a person is, how unbelievably godly and angelic a person can be. That the entire future of mankind, God has given the key to us. So therefore, may Hashem help us to know how important and wonderfully unique we are and special we are. And therefore, love ourselves and love others. Don't forget to subscribe. And please watch our videos every week of the Parsha of the New Year. Have a wonderful Chag and Shabbat.